What if Ruby was raised by the Grimm? Part 2. Last where we left off, Ruby was sleeping with her mother and, sibling Grimm. As she wakes up and scouts the area, she is standing on a, ruined, I'd say clock tower of this village. As then a paper comes flying in her face. As she grabs it, as it says Beacon and has a picture of Beacon. Beacon, one of the schools for hunters and huntresses. As she crumbles up the paper, it needs to be destroyed. As she noticed several Grimm coming around the area. More Grimm? Wonder what they're about. As we see a bird, like one of those crow Grimm, start to come towards Ruby. As then out of nowhere, her mother simply bites the neck of the crow and breaks it. It simply absorbs the crow Grimm, making her mother bigger. Mother always looking out for me. As her mother is about as tall as the clock tower now, as her eyes are looking at Ruby. You know, Mother, if you keep growing in size, we could destroy Beacon. Or even all of the huntresses and hunters. But I'm worried we've caused too much attention to ourselves. As her mother looks confused. As then she looks over and sees, planes coming in full of, security bots. As her eyes widen, and then out of nowhere she gets hit in the, lower stomach. As she goes down to one knee, as her mother gets in front and roars, causing some of the planes to shift course because of the sound that her mother had sent out. As some of the Grimm wolves, her siblings, had started jumping on buildings and tearing the wings of the, planes with the security bots and destroying them. As she lays herself against the, piece of wall that she was up against. Let my guard down. As she's holding her wound. As her mother picks her up and takes her to the ground. As they had managed to deal with all the security bots that were sent. As now all of her siblings and her mother is looking at her. What is it? I'll be fine, Mother. It's just a bit of an injury. As she winces in pain. As one of her siblings comes forth. And bringing, DNA of, or bringing a corpse of a Grimm. What are you doing? As her sibling takes a part of the Grimm, as it was the remaining of the bird Grimm that had fallen off when her mother had destroyed it. As they basically give her the DNA, and she absorbs it into her body, as the wound instantly heals. What'd y'all do? As she looks confusingly at all her siblings and her mother. As then, she taps her sibling, as then she sees her sibling's memories of her. As she takes her hand back. What happened? As she's now in a bit of a daze, not knowing what to think. Until her siblings start to lick her. Okay, that's enough. As they all back off. As she stands back up. As she looks at the wound that's healed. I guess we should move on to our next area. They could send more, hunter or huntresses towards us. We should keep moving. As she's walking towards a direction, this is where one of her siblings simply, grabs her and throws her on his back. What are you doing? As basically he just simply growls. Looking out for your sister, eh? As she pets her brother. Anyway, let's go to the next village. as they start to, well, go off. This is where we go to Ozpin, who is currently meeting with Crow. Hello, Crow. Ozpin, it's been a while. What do you need me for, anyway? I've heard that we've had some trouble with Grim lately, a lot of it. I'm currently on a mission right now. Or supposed to be. But what do you need? Well, I would like you to investigate these villages being attacked. Recently, a security force was sent to a nearby village that was attacked with barely any survivors. The only survivors that we'd managed to recover from the, well, small town only said it was attacked by Wolf Grim. Just another Grim attack, really? That happens everywhere. We can't just be everywhere. Yes, but this village had some, well, hunters in it. And reports found that they were dead. And the security force that was dispatched towards the area was also, well, dealt with. So it means they'd either settled there for a time, because we sent another one to check the area, see if any more Grim were there. And they're gone now. Well, why are you bringing this up, though? It's just one, Wolf Grim pack or something? I know this may be sudden, but I want you to investigate. Because it's connected to several attacks on several different towns. And each town is getting a little bit closer to Beacon. Okay, that may be a problem. I'll do my investigating, but I really don't think it's anything to worry about. It's just a lowly pack of Grim Wolves. I must focus on my main task at hand. Very well, but please do investigate. Alright, if I got time. As he just simply walks out and transforms in a crow and just flies away. As we go back to Ruby, who is walking next to her siblings. As they're in a forest that is covered in fog. When did this fog roll in? As her siblings are all well around her, and her mother's behind her. Something doesn't feel right. As she pulls out her weapon, after seeing, well, several other Grim appear in front of her. More Grim. As her mother, well, stands over her and growls at the Grim. These Grim want to, well, kill Ruby, pretty much because she's human. But they're a bit scared because of her mother, who is about as big as the trees. As they decide to back off, but two snake Grim that are very long and large start to come towards them. Ruby simply moves very fast and quickly decapitates one, while her mother just simply squishes the head of the other. Y'all can feast now. I can rest. As Ruby simply just lays against a tree as her, well, family's pretty much just devouring the Grim. As they're growing stronger as they're eating their own, well, kind. Other Grim, not Grim Wolves, as she's just resting. As she closes her eyes and gets visions of Grim. Memories of the past. How she would play with the main wolf pack she was in, of the Wolf Grim. And how it was attacked. As then a vision comes in that she never thought she would see. As it's a vision of, well, her being covered in, like, the same black substance as the Grim. As she wakes up, a little bit sweating. What was that? As she looks at her arm, it's not black, like the Grim. What was I seeing? As she just basically thinks it was a nightmare. As she gets up, As she realizes she slept through the entirety of, well, dawn, we better start moving, as the rest of the wolf pack of the Wolfgrim start to get up. We have a long journey. After all, are we heading to Beacon, Mother? As her mother nods no. We're heading somewhere else? Yes. Where to? Lead the way. As her mother walks in front, as the rest of them follow behind. As she's leading them to some, well, an old destroyed city. A city? As she simply nods her head. Why do we need to come here, Mother? As she howls as a whole bunch of Wolfgrim come running out of the city towards them. More Wolfgrim. As all of them are surprised by, well, Ruby's mother, who is, like, really large. As she howls, and, well, Wolfgrim packs will emerge if they're in short number. So they decide to merge with this pack, as now they've joined forces. As Ruby approaches the Grim, as a lot of them are hesitant because, well, Ruby. They would have gladly accepted it, like the Wolfgrim, but not Ruby. So when one tries to growl, well, her mother simply just, well, swipes it away. As she goes over to one of the Wolfgrim and simply touches its head, as it now has no, well, feelings of harming Ruby. As it just, well, simply rubs its head on her shoulder. As she pats it. As this has the rest of the pack confused. As she would go around just simply touching the heads of all the Wolfgrim, as they have no intention of harming her anymore. As her mother noticed this. As Ruby's thinking, in her mind, why am I so connected with these Grim? Why? Was I born to be like this? As she looks up into the sky. Or was I born for something else? As her thoughts are interrupted as, well, her mother starts approaching her. What is it, Mother? As she simply points into the distance. As she squints her eyes. What is that? As she starts to scale a building with her, well, semblance pretty much, she can turn to rose petals. As she gets to the top and pulls out some binoculars that she took from a hunter. As she looks through it, as it's a plane. As she signals towards her pack, everyone hide. As she quickly just jumps down and jumps on her mother's back, as they retreat into the forest. As a helicopter, well, or a plane pretty much lands, and lets off a few students and a teacher. Who are they? As I'm just going to add John to this team, because why not? So, it's Blake, Weiss, Yang, and John. And the teacher, which I always forget that character's name. As they had, well, dropped off, and were doing a mission. Hunters and huntresses. Just what we needed. As her mother seems to be ready to, like, strike, as the rest of the pack is, as she simply pulls out her scythe and says, no, we do not strike. We do not want the entirety of, well, Beacon to hunt us down because we, well, murdered a few future huntresses and hunter. So let's go around them for the time being. Stay observant. but do not attack. As she basically gives the order to all the Grimm wolves. As they comply with this order. Why are they here? As they decide to walk around the forest, they come across a weird entrance along the forest edge after walking for about a day. As it's a entrance to the underground where the White Fang is at. Are those? What are those? They're not Grimm, but they dare to wear Grimm masks. What to do? This could be a problem. As she's contemplating, two of the Grimm simply just strike at the people that are wearing Grimm masks, the White Fang members, at the door. Simply just, killing them. Of course, I don't get to think, and y'all strike. Remember, we cannot just strike willy-nilly, as she just is telling Oliver. I do not want to lose any pack members. Do I make myself clear? As the two that attacked simply just, whimper and back away. Good. Remember, stay vigilant. For all we know, this area could be full of hunters or huntresses. As she puts her hood up, I will check it out. As she opens the door and walks in, if I'm not back in, say, about first moon's light, come in after me. As she walks in and sees this whole operation of, Faunus loading a train, the White Fang loading a train. What is this? They're loading a train. These are definitely no hunters or huntresses. What is this? As she's keeping an eye on them, as she pulls out some binoculars and sees Torchwick, I believe, as he was talking with, Yang, Blake, and Weiss, and John, who had fallen down. Of course, the train starts to move as they board the train and all that. As Ruby was watching this, as she walks out, as it's almost, moon's light, as she goes and reports and tells her mother and the rest of the pack what she had saw. Apparently, people are having, a little bit of a discussion or non-agreement of some sorts. An organization called the White Fang, and the hunters and huntresses aren't getting along. I don't know what's happening, or what's the dispute with them, but I suggest we stay vigilant. Let's keep moving, stay around Beacon, but not too close. As they agree, now let's move. As she gets on her mother's back. As they go, north, around the Beacon Forest, or quite far from Beacon, but still within the forest area. As they're keeping an eye on Beacon, because Ruby wants to see that place destroyed, as it's created a lot of hunters and huntresses that have taken, her family members' lives. You ready? As the rest of her pack looks at her, with a bit of confusion. We need to grow stronger, and the best way is to fight strong Grimm. To grow stronger. So let's do that. As they start to walk into the forest, as a black shadow appears behind Ruby, as it's all the Grimm wolves following her. And that is the end of part 2 of What If Ruby Was Raised by the Grimm. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and remember to leave a like and subscribe for more.